my God, it's 59. We're getting so close to 60.
We are the closest you could be to 60 before being 60.
I was going to say, I'm going to propose decimal episodes. I don't want to get to 60 too soon.
Yeah, I would like to do a Kingdom Hearts like 59.5.
Yes.
Birth by Sleep.
Yes.
Fall through cards.
From every other book that we read now that isn't a Goosebuds book, it can't be a regular numbered episode of Goosebuds. It has to be a point number.
Also, it has to be on a platform that is inaccessible to the people that have gotten into the podcast to begin with. So it's got to be like only like Vimeo video.
8-track.
Like that's the 8-track. Yeah,
that sounds good.
You know what it is? It's hit clips. Remember hit clips?
Wow, dude, we'll do it
Yes.
in 100 hit clip series because they can only be like a minute long. We'll do like 100 of them for one episode.
Hey, do you want to watch a minute and a half of a grainy SpongeBob cartoon? Hit clips.
Hit clips. Put it in your Game Boy Advance. I think the Game Boy Advance ones had full episodes, though. Am I wrong?
Did they?
Oh yeah, we used to sell those at Game Crazy, and I was like, "Who's buying the?" Like it was you're buying individual like episodes on a cartridge,
on a Game Boy cartridge. So weird.
It's stupid, but also kind of it was kind of cool. Like as a kid who didn't have access to like a DVD player, I'm sure that was fucking awesome.
Yeah,
it felt like it was just a year or two too early. Where just give it a second, we'll have like the storage capabilities for cheap.
Right.
Like,
you know what's funny is that we're talking about this going, oh man, can you imagine that? I think a lot of people listening out there probably had them.
Yeah.
Because, like, I remember working at GameStop, and we would sell them, like, and they would come in used all the time. So.
Yeah, I remember getting used, like, was this GBA that had them, the Game Boy Advance?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember getting those in all the time and being like, who the fuck? And then I was like, oh, wait, there's 10-year-olds that can't watch SpongeBob anywhere else. They can watch it on their Game Boy, which is awesome, actually.
But I do think, Chad, we should go to, well, in Paul's suggestion, the decimal, but also the Kingdom Hearts, like, elaborate title, but they got to be Goosebumps related, right? So I'm thinking like, you know, a goose in Chad's dreams, right? That's what this one could be, right?
Yes.
Because we were going to talk about your dreams, Chad.
Yes. Well, we were talking about Gremlins 2 before the podcast and how you guys were saying how like Gremlins 2 people saw before Gremlins 1. I had a very exact opposite reaction of I thought we had talked about this at one point, but I'm glad to share nightmares that I had. Gremlins 1 freaked me out real fucking bad, guys. I know
the first one did?
Yeah, I know apparently it's a comedy, but like Gremlins 1 scared me so much as just a complete idea, the designs, the fact that they're like these tiny little things that you can't see that hide in the dark and like will rip your throat.
Gremlins 1 is great. It is very scary and there's a lot of violence in it. And what I love about Gremlins 1 is it uses the mythos of what a gremlin actually is to they're exactly what they're supposed to be. Like it's 100% mythologically correct. Because a gremlin was I'm sure there were gremlins before this, but in World War II, the people used to talk about gremlins being the things that would sabotage vehicles.
Yeah.
Before you would go out like flying or driving your Jeep into enemy territory and stuff like that. And like that's what the Gremlins do in Gremlins 1 is they fucking sabotage electronic devices and turn them against people. And they do other things as well, but like famously like they sabotage the police car.
Yeah, there's an old like Looney Tunes or Warner Brothers cartoons of a little gremlin, I think. That wasn't like a huge breakout character, but they had him for a little bit.
Sure, and that's on the Twilight Zone episode, the Terror at 40,000 feet. That's a gremlin.
Oh, it's a gremlin, yeah.
Exactly.
Well, my nightmares for Gremlins weren't really technology based, but I had a recurring dream, I'd say 3 to 4 times a week for about a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
I guess like middle school or younger at that time, where I'd be running through a dark like Resident Evil type mansion hotel.
Okay.
And I'm with Bill Cosby.
Okay.
That is another layer of terror.
But this is before we knew he was a monster. I just thought he was lovable, Huxtable dad, Jello pudding pops. And we're running from the gremlins and we get to this like big giant spiral staircase and we can like look back. It was the same cinematic shot every time. You look back, you can hear the gremlins are coming. You can see like their shadows bouncing around the corner down the hallway. They're going to get us in a second. And Bill Cosby and I look at each other and say nothing. And I just go, I'm sorry, Bill Cosby. And I throw Bill Cosby on a dinner cart. Like
what?
and I sacrifice him to the gremlins. Like I push him towards where the gremlins are, and then I run down the stairs forever as I hear Bill Cosby murdered by gremlins, and I would always just wake up in a cold sweat. That dream happened for a year and a half.
Did you get the food cart idea from Ghostbusters?
Maybe that tangentially was like in there for it.
It seems like a mixture of Ghostbusters and Gremlins 2, because Gremlins 2 is in a hotel as well, right? Or is it an apartment building, Tom?
It's an office building.
Gremlins 2, it's a production building, yeah.
That's right, it is a production. I knew it was a big building. I couldn't remember.
Well, to be fair, it's a building that has everything, because also Christopher Lee is an evil scientist who's like working on green goo.
Well, some offices are like that. Like when I worked at E, we shot stuff there, but there was also just insurance firms and stuff in that building.
Yeah.
So.
Well, isn't there like a bellhop gremlin in it? I thought there was like a bellhop gremlin.
Probably
in the second one. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
So. I think there's a butler. There's definitely a butler gremlin.
Yeah. Well, that's the funny thing about Gremlins 2. Like Gremlins 1 is like, again, like a very like, these are what gremlins would really do in the real world. Like this is what a gremlin attack would be like. And the second one's just like, there's just fun, marketable gremlins now. Let's have a good time.
We're about to do the Key and Peele Gremlins 2 sketch that you haven't seen. Like we're getting into that.
Yeah. I don't want to spoil that. If you haven't seen the Key and Peele Gremlins 2 sketch, you should definitely watch it. It's quite good.
Yeah, I have to watch it.
But yeah, this conversation started because y'all were talking about Jordan Peele, how like Key and Peele, a lot of the setups are kind of horror, kind of traditional setups or intense moments. And
or a silly sketch will go towards, we don't know how to end a sketch other than what if this was really scary? Like what
right.
if?
Yeah. Right. Don, that's something you've always said to me is like the end result of a lot of sketches is someone gets shot, because it's like you get to a point in ridiculousness where you don't know how to turn it off. Right?
Yeah, or someone gets murdered. Yeah, and it just erupts into like the most extreme, which is just violence, which is kind of, I mean, would you say Calling All Creeps kind of erupts in that same way? I mean, it kind of gets to a point. Yeah, it kind of gets to this crazy point. Why don't we dig in here?
Hell of a segue.
Calling All Creeps. Calling All Creeps, as voted on by our Patreon patrons. Our Patreon patrons. Mm-hmm.
So I want to look up Goosebumps. Was this one out of order, or is this the next in order?
This one is out of order, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the next in order is Law Gnomes. Yes.
Yeah, I thought it was Law Gnomes. This one was the worst Goosebumps book we've read.
How could you say that?
I honestly have to agree with Chad here.
Like, oh my god, I'm completely blown away.
This was one of my favorite ones to read.
Oh my god, guys, what?
Only because I kind of knew where it was going because I had seen the episode, and I thought that the way it got there was kind of a parody of itself. Like this character, not to reveal too much because we'll go through it, but this character is so dumb and hateable that he just turns the ultimate heel, and it's just a complete like, wow, okay.
I think this one commits all of the worst sins that we have talked about throughout
absolutely.
the Goosebumps.
Absolutely.
And like, okay, maybe if it's on purpose, bravo, Stein. But I don't know.
I gotta say, like, I feel like over the history of Goosebuds, by the way, welcome to Goosebuds, I think I've continually called out this title as the one. Camp Jelly Jam and Calling Out Creeps, to me, at least if I hadn't, are my two favorite books in Goosebumps that I remember.
So now I remembered you saying that Camp Jelly Jam was your favorite. I do not recall you saying, I'm sure you did, but I just didn't recall that this was
These are my most
favorites.
fond ones.
Wow.
For where they go in terms of not just doing like pure fake outs, I guess. Like it's interesting. You talk about all the sins they commit. I always felt like this was an answer to those by not doing those. I thought there's a lot of stuff in the book that like doesn't go that way. So this will be an interesting episode.
I think that the sins are the sins of the character, which Paul is calling out. I would say, and that's where I agree with Chad, is that a lot is really happening. Like, the character is running around trying to resolve this. No one's believing him. He's an idiot. He makes a lot of stupid mistakes.
Oh, he's very dumb.
But the reality and the threat is that everything is real, and we're not being teased about like, is this really happening or not?
Okay. Well, so when I texted you guys before we recorded, and I said that I thought this was the worst book that we've ever read out of the Goosebumps series.
Broke my heart.
And Chad, your reaction was shock, and I was like in my head trying to figure out like Chad's reasoning as to why this is a good book. And I was going through like old like things that we would say about old books, and the only redeeming factor that I could say that I know Chad would say about this book is that the character is constantly taking action, like is taking the action of the book into their own hands constantly. But again, I think this one commits the sin of a lot of these books where it's so stupid and it's so boring regular life that I don't think any of the actions he takes are interesting in any way. I think they're so bland and so boring that
Well, let's talk about it. So we have the character Ricky, who...
Well, if I may, Don, before we get into it, I just want to ask you guys a leading question before we start, just to help primer a little bit.
Sure.
Yes.
Just to get insight on you guys, maybe this is too real talk, but I know we're all video game boys. We're indoor kids.
Yes.
Were you guys bullied at all as kids?
Yes. Yeah, to an extent. I mean, I think that... Oh, go on, Paul. I always feel like I'm cutting you off here.
No, you're fine. I think you and I probably are going to have similar answers, and I actually wanted to bring this up, Chad, that I usually relate to the kids in these books, especially the ones that are bullied, because I grew up dealing with bullying as a kid, and I definitely relate to like the outsider kid, but in this one, I hated him. I just hated
it. Interesting.
Go ahead, Dom.
I was bullied, but I think that everyone is kind of bullied in school.
Yeah.
Like everyone, I feel like from 5th grade to maybe 10th or 11th grade. 12th, nobody cares anymore. But between that period, it's just kind of like everyone has anxiety because like they've all been like made fun of in front of everyone.
Yes. Well, I think I was thinking about that while reading this book. I was like, I think from 5th grade until like 9th or 10th grade is probably the peak shittiness of kids to each other. And then I think 11th, 12th grade, like kids are still shitty to each other, but mostly you have sort of figured out your shit enough that you've quarantined yourself off from the other shitheads.
Well, let me add an appendix to that. I think it's that those are the shittiest, most like malevolent years from kids.
Yes.
And then when you become like high school kids, you're like, oh, now just the real sociopaths will actually just like murder and kill people and commit like fraud and drugs, like all that stuff. So before then, it was just like these little kids are like, oh, we're little evil demons, but we don't know what to do with this. So I guess we'll just we're little gremlins. So I guess we'll just ruin other kids' lives. I guess we'll just do that.
Yeah, it's mischievous. It's just punking each other before.
Yeah,
and then it becomes real.
Mean punk pranks. It's Ashton Kutcher's punked all over the time.
Which is what this book does is these kids are just being shitheads to each other, and they're being shitheads to Ricky, and let's be honest, Ricky sucks.
Well, and that's the problem that Ricky has, is that he keeps falling on his face even in trying to point, attention to him being wronged. He's just like, he cannot do it. So Ricky's a kid. The book starts out in kind of an interesting way. Ricky's sneaking out. He's going back to the school in the middle of the night because he's gonna pull a prank of revenge, and he sneaks. It's wet, it's cold out, and he gets to the room where they're writing the school paper, and he's watching. There's a teacher and a student in there, and he wants to get revenge on that student, Tasha McLean. That's it, right? I think it was McLean.
Yep, McLean, and definitely.
She steps up to get away from the computer for a second. She's like typing up the front page of the computer, and he goes, now's my chance. He sneaks in and he types a message on the keyboard at the very bottom of the page, like real small, and it says, calling all creeps. If you're a creep, call Tasha at 555 whatever, leaves a phone number.
That's the inciting incident.
Yeah, that doesn't happen in the first chapter either. It goes out of order. So it does that, what you're saying, Dom, and he sneaks in. But the cool thing is, and the book starts out really strong. It shows you this, like you said, like this inciting incident. And it's like, why was I doing this? Well, it's a long story. And I was like, okay, this is cool. Like, there's a little mystery. I don't know what this girl did to this kid. I was like, that's cool. Then it falls apart.
Yes.
I mean,
then everything becomes lame as shit.
When you say falls apart, I say I get all of Ricky's problems, but maybe I sucked. Maybe I just sucked as a kid.
Maybe I'm seeing too much of myself in Ricky, and that's why I hate it. I'm like,
but I was just
idiot.
gonna say towards the bullying thing, like I actually I was like rereading. I'm like, oh, I totally get why I don't personally like Ricky, but I saw myself in that character of, oh yeah, there's this weird thing where just everyone at school just picks on you all the time, and there was like 3 or 4 of us who just had that, where we were the butt of all the jokes for everything. I was like, this feels like and without getting too into the books glowing, I think there is an interesting analog, whether the author meant to or not, that is when you are one of the few people singled out by your friends versus pod people stories. Like, which this is a modern-ish take on pod people.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
There's
something there. Like an Edgar Wright could do like an amazing version of this, kind of like he did in his End of the World movie.
So they do, he says, I'll tell you about it. It's a long story. How did he get here pulling this prank of revenge?
Then we go back and learn,
The long story is that he's bullied by a group of 4 friends, and that bullying just leads to everyone else also hating him. Like, he keeps getting into these little tussles with these this group of 4 friends, one of them which is named Wart.
Wart. Yep.
And he keeps getting in these conflicts, and then like that leads to him like accidentally throwing a can of soda on a keyboard, and then the soda explodes and it gets everywhere, and everyone is mad at him.
A name-checked Pepsi. Everyone wants a can of Pepsi.
Yes.
There's some good name droppings in here to make sure you know Ricky's a kid like you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Paul.
I just want to say this is why I dislike it, okay? And I'm going to throw this out there. So as Dom set up, you see the prologue of like, I'm going to get myself into this situation. Here's how I got here. So we go back in time. Okay, cool. That's a nice setup. But then we go back in time. First thing that happens to Ricky is he meets a new girl in school, and he's showing her around in school. What's her name?
Iris.
He meets her and he's showing her around, and he gets punked by one of the 4 kids. Wart, I think, sticks his leg out and trips him in the lunchroom. He spills his food everywhere. Right there, I was like, okay, yeah, I can associate with that. That's some classic bullying. You look like a fool. Chad, I think you're right. I think everybody gets bullied on in those years. I think the difference between a kid that gets bullied and a kid that is cool that gets bullied is a cool kid knows how to react. A bullied kid like cowers and absorbs the bullying and becomes a little like pushover, and then that creates more problems.
Yeah, there's a difference of, and this is honestly helping me unlock a lot of stuff as we talk about my own psychosis. I'm unpacking some stuff, but like I think there's a difference between everyone getting bullied, and it sure feels like Ricky. I don't know if he sucks any more than any other kid personally in Goosebumps, but he is like, everyone hates him. Like, everyone hates him.
Every single person hates him. And this is what I don't like about this book. So the first instance is he gets tripped, and it's like, okay, yeah, you got punked. You looked like an idiot. That's fine. That's poor Ricky. The second time he gets punked is in this, he goes into the newspaper office for where the club is, as Dom said, and he's grabbing a soda, and the bullies are there, and they work on the newspaper, and they punk him, and they make him spill his soda all over the place, right?
Yeah.
They fuck him up. Now, this is where I start to have problems, because this is classic Goosebumps bullshit. He gets punked so hard that the soda goes everywhere, and everybody blames it on Ricky. Okay, sure. Let's chalk this one up to an honest mistake that nobody saw the bullies punk him. Ricky's still a fucking idiot. He gets in trouble for this one. Okay, it happens again later in the book. He gets punked because he shows up to do a newspaper report, and we'll go back through the actual plot line. But he shows up later to do a book or a newspaper reporting job where he's going to take pictures for Trisha, right?
Tasha McClane. Action hero Tasha McClane.
Well, she had the soda. Yes, that's what I thought. I was like, McClane? Wait, hold on a second. Die Hard? But yeah, she has the soda smashed against her keyboard, which ruins the work she's doing on the paper.
I mean, I used to be a newspaper editor. It does suck. It takes forever in InDesign to adjust those columns.
Yes.
If it gets fucked, that's like a day's work. It sucks.
Oh, yeah. And I'm not against Tasha for this part. I'm gonna.
But she gives him a chance. She says, "Don't fuck this up. Go take this expensive camera and go to the car wash. I'm giving you a second chance."
So he goes to the car wash to do his report, to take the pictures. The bullies are there. They start spraying him with hoses. His camera gets soaked, and then they fucking chase him away with hoses, and his camera breaks. Then Tasha blames fucking Ricky again. Classic Goosebumps bullshit. And he's trying to explain it, and she won't hear anything of it. Listen, if her dad's fucking expensive camera got broken, I only expect a modicum of realism from Goosebumps, and I know that this isn't good for the story, but they'd have figured out that the fucking asshole kids that were spraying him with the hoses were the person that caused that problem. There's just too much piling on Ricky.
I agree. There's too much piling on Ricky. I agree. Also, not to mention that on top of that, the even bigger injustice is that I forget which one of the kids, but the kid whose like car is sprayed on the inside, I think it's one of the bullies, is like, my dad's going to sue you and your family for every penny they have. So like Ricky and his family are the lowest tier.
Who are rich?
Are they rich?
They're rich though, because they have phones all over their house, so they're rich.
Everyone has a phone in their room.
Rich family.
That's the most. Well, we don't know how many lines they have. I feel like that's the biggest sign of wealth.
True.
But back to set in the 90s. But I think reading it, I gotta put out that I think Ricky's family, even if they are rich, are a lower like caste than everyone else in this town. Like something has happened, and they have been singled out. And not to preach too much, but this is when every time I watch like a show and they do this character, I can't stand it. So like, think of your favorite shows. Think of like Parks and Rec or The Office or whatever. I swear it's not a super long tangent. I hate the Jerry character. I don't hate like Jerry from Parks and Rec or Kevin from The Office.
The butt monkey. You hate the butt monkey.
I hate the butt monkey because from a writing standpoint, it is the easiest fucking thing. You're making a sacrificial lamb to just suck. Like to just like, he's the worst, right? And like Parks and Rec is the only one I can think of where at least at the end they're like, though spoilers for Parks and Rec, I guess. Jerry's got a big dick and he's married to a beautiful wife. Like that's what you find out.
Right.
But like usually that in storytelling is just like, isn't he the worst? Just pile on him. They suck.
I like that the measure of character is having a large penis. Like they're like,
at least seems like the writer's giving a condolence to them. Like,
but like, isn't that interesting? Isn't that an interesting thing that we value for? Be like, oh well, he got really bullied, but he's got a really big penis.
He got a real big penis, and he's married to a supermodel. Very old 1940s ideas of success, I guess.
Yes, I guess.
I never liked the Jerry. Like I like the commitment to the bit of the Jerry thing in Parks and Rec. I do like that they never relent, but I also kind of like, I agree with you, Chad. I always kind of saw that as a detriment to the show. Ultimately, I was always like, that's mean. There's a mean-spirited part of that show that they filter it all into one character so they can have some mean-spirited jokes in there, and I never really liked that. I think The Office does a better job with Kevin. I think they offer a little more redeeming stuff about Kevin.
Yeah, maybe the better example is like D from Always Sunny, because they pile on D, but then they like, she's also terrible, so it kind of
works, right?
But sometimes D is kind of like the most likable character besides Charlie, I guess. D's
definitely the most human character out of all of them, for sure.
But I'll mention this only and not to try to defend this book on the merits of it happened to me, but I mean, like, I definitely identify with that happening to me in middle school of like, there's this weird mob mentality where I guess I just suck, and like I don't know, and I don't know why, and I think as much as it's annoying even in this book, and all your points are right, Paul, it leads to the finale and almost makes the finale work. But we'll get to that.
So we can keep going. So Dom, if you want to pick it up. So what happens? I think
I do kind of just want to talk about Always Sunny now, because I just realized something about Always Sunny.
What's that?
Is that they're all characters that were like bullied, but also bullied each other. And that's what they do, and that's like they're in this never-ending cycle of just like hating each other, but that they're their only family.
That's what bullied kids do. I mean, I know that my group of friends was like that growing up when I was in my worst.
Definitely, I think a lot of kids. I mean, maybe this is just more of an East Coast thing or relevant to our area. Chad, you can let us know. Middle of America. But like hanging out with your friends like after high school is just kind of like busting each other's balls. Like that's what like being a friend is. So anyway, that's kind of super tangent. But
no. That's I think it's relevant to this though.
But anyway,
so I believe this water incident happens before he decides to get his revenge, correct? Because she does this to him.
And then she's like, yeah, now you had your second chance on the paper. And I think this is kind of a misstep that the author chooses to not have that Ricky actually cares about journalism. I think it would have made Ricky a lot more likable if he had a passion.
Sure,
Ricky's only doing the news to get activity points, because you have to get activity points or you don't graduate, which seems unfair.
It's incredibly unfair. You actually
seems incredibly unfair.
You can't do that.
Then you're not making extracurricular. You're making them curricular.
Right.
He's like, if I don't do this, I gotta go play sports. And I don't play sports, even though it seems like the bullies would be playing the sports. But whatever, I get it.
Well, so they report on the sports, Chad.
I guess that's true. It just feels like, yeah, you don't want to play sports because you'll get pummeled by strong kids. The strong kids are doing it anyway. You know what? Go out for golf. You know what? Or whatever. Try a different thing at this point. But because Tasha has fired him, which again, I don't think she could do. I don't know if Tasha, another grader, could say, you're not allowed to do this school activity.
I thought about that too. I was like, I don't think this is that official, Tasha. I don't think you have that power.
Yeah. Now Ricky, I think to help motivate his road to revenge, his get even, his get even get even. Like he's like, okay, well, now that she's taken my only thing from me, I'm going to sneak into the editor. And I'm going to really, man, this is the king of all pranks. I'm totally going to put a number to call her, which is not even that good of a prank.
It is the worst fucking prank, guys. Again, Ricky's things are so goddamn anticlimactic.
Hold on, let's back up. That's kind of a traditional prank, is writing someone's number somewhere, particularly the bathroom, but putting someone's number and saying, call this person. That's not a bad. So, I mean, you would agree, Paul, that's pretty annoying thing to happen to you, right? If someone were to do that.
I guess, yeah. But
this kid's 6 potential predators on this girl. He says, if you're a creep, which we all know what a creep is, call this woman and harass her.
Right.
I would say that's pretty vile.
I don't think Ricky. I don't know why I'm defending Ricky. I feel like Ricky is so innocent. He's not thinking about how he's doing the equivalent of
how evil it is.
If you want a good time, call so and so.
Right.
I think he's literally, because everyone in the book uses creep as an insult over and over and over again. Yeah. It's literally the equivalent of like, no, I'm not, but you are. Like, that's what he thinks he's doing.
Sure.
But yeah, he's definitely putting out a girl's number or the family's number to call and harass her.
If he had spray painted it on the school or done something like kind of bad, you know, and did a little more of like an actual like thing, but he sneaks in and he types it onto the computer, and we know where this goes. We know where the story goes, guys. I was like, she's going to fucking see that, you fucking idiot. She's editing the newspaper right now. She's going to see it, you fucking idiot.
She's going to come back and work on it. That wasn't there before. It's very bad. I mean, all of his ideas are fucking stupid.
You needed a line from her going like, I've just finished the final approval. Ricky, you stay far away because I know you'll spill soda on it again or whatever.
Right.
But something where like, man, I'm about to hit print, send to printers.
He could have like stolen the disc and like replaced it with another disc or something. You know,
you're misunderstanding. Ricky still cares about journalists. He still wants the kids to get the news.
He has a passion, and he cannot besmirch the journalism in his school. That cannot happen.
He loves the printed word. He could have written it down on a piece of paper and snuck it into every paper that went out that day, but rather he'd get it printed in the paper.
Can I also point out for context that this is a school that does love pranks. Man, this series is all about pranks.
Yeah.
But let's look at what the metric is for pranks in this school in the 90s. The opening page, I gotta find it in. Maybe you have it, Paul.
I have it in my mind.
The opening page is describing that like those like welcome to so and so school, and there's like those like rearrangeable letterbox things like school's out for the summer, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
Like some kid had spray painted the letters of the very first letter of each word, so it was like,
so it made a nonsense word.
It made a nonsense word. It wasn't even like funny though. He didn't turn it. Yeah. It's called like it's like Harding School. So
and it just says Arding, I Ooooh. That's all it says.
Like, it doesn't turn it into like I eat farts or anything.
Right.
It just
make it something
just
silly.
Is there more extreme version of this book where that said like hard dick school or something like that.
Yes,
and like Scholastic was like, okay, we got to tone back how freaking creepy and rude the kids in this school are. And that's why we are left with like the wet blanket pranks that happen.
Right. I just want to bring that because by comparison of just we took out the first letter of each word to make it nonsense, unless this is just Dr. Seuss world. I gotta say, if we just assume he didn't mean to be her being sexually harassed by weird kids,
right?
Calling all creeps in the school newspaper is more interesting and inspired than what's going on currently in his life.
Sure.
Yes, that's all I'm bringing up. Is that that's at least more creative.
Okay, fine, but I still think it's dumb, and I still think he doesn't think it through. And I guess Ricky is supposed to be an idiot, so we're supposed to just accept it. But I can't again because he's our main character, and we're supposed to like at least somewhat side with this guy. This is a fable for making your main character so unlikable that you can't follow along with him without being mad at him the entire time. This book is.
I think that the end of this book, and this is where we'll continue, get to the next big moment here, but the end of this book kind of makes it all worth it, in my opinion. So that
maybe
the next thing that happens.
Well, I just have to point out, to sum up this character, at the beginning of chapter 6, Tasha calls Ricky in the morning to get him to come in to do this reporting, to take the pictures of the
and the camera gets ruined. They wet him with a hose and the camera gets ruined.
She calls him, and for 2 pages, the only thing that Ricky says is "huh" to her. Huh? She says something else. Huh? She says something else. Huh? She says something else. He says it multiple times in a row, and he does call out that he's doing it, but it's so fucking bland and stupid that I'm like, this is that character. This is Ricky summed up right here. He's a living huh.
Don't you feel bad a little bit for Ricky? I mean, he's like a little scared dog who can't stop barking at everyone. He's just like, he's been so abused and so afraid of the world that like he can only react to like the horrors happening around him.
I guess, yeah. I mean, look, again, I think we're supposed to be like, I've been bullied. And maybe this book would have meant more to me.
I'm not saying sympathize, but have an understanding of Ricky. Sure. I think he sucks too. I hate Ricky.
Yeah. Let's go to the next thing.
The next thing that happens is he starts getting phone calls in the middle of the night, and there are phone calls that are saying, the big thing that happens, the reveal is that he swapped out. The newspaper comes out with the phone number, but of course, Tasha saw it. She changed it to his phone number. So he starts getting these phone calls in the middle of the night, and it's creeps. And he's saying, hey, I'm a creep. When are we going to meet? Where do we meet? I'm a creep. And he's like, I'm so scared.
Yo.
And because I think he was scared by that. And then
also they call it midnight because that's spookier. I don't think he says call it midnight. Did he say that in the prank?
It's part of the prank. They write after midnight to call
after midnight. Okay, so that's part of the prank.
So the next day at school, I think it's the next day at school, he's confronted by the bullies that have been bullying him, this group of 4 friends. And they say, hey, we're creeps, and they reveal themselves. And they are purple lizard people.
Yes.
So also, I just want to call out that there's at least another character that's a bit of a red herring at this point.
Lisa, right?
Lisa, or Iris?
I think it's Iris. I think her name is Iris.
Why do I keep changing her name to Lisa? It's Iris.
Well, there's similar letters in there. A capital I is just a lowercase L.
Fuck yeah.
You're right. When you really think about it, that's deep. Like Iris, who is new to school, which I think is an important detail that they don't go anywhere with.
Right.
But it's like because she doesn't know that Ricky sucks, I think that's an interesting for the like. Because she hasn't been indoctrinated to let's all dump on Ricky.
Yeah.
She actually kind of likes him. And she's the one that's like, yeah, dude, like Tasha totally caught that. Like she knows what's going on. She put your name in the paper instead. Like everyone's calling you. I just want to point out because I think she comes in. She's important later, and I wanted to talk about her later too.
Yes, and so
she's been making appearances throughout the story, and is kind of a sounding board for Ricky, and is the only person who likes Ricky. But it's such a misdirect. It's stupid.
Well, it kind of works out, and I think it's important that her character is particularly important to the ending. So. The creeps come up to Ricky. They reveal themselves. Wart eats a squirrel. Wart the lizard man eats a squirrel.
Also to add to that detail, Paul, sorry, Dom, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just want to call it in terms of real world analogies that I think this book does well is it's not like it's in the hallway or anything. It's like the bullies just pick him up and carry him into the woods, which is kind of scary, like real world
that
scary.
Is scary. Yes, that is.
We're
scary.
taking you away from adult supervision.
It's called abduction. Yeah,
yes.
it is scary.
Yes,
and that's when it's like, oh, okay. Yeah. Also, like, oh, hey, we think you are the commander. They keep calling. They full on just reveal themselves, like, oh, we're so glad because we've all been creeps. And we were waiting for our time to strike. When do we plant the seeds, yo? And that's when it's like now they're just eating squirrels, like Dom, you said. But they are loyal to Ricky.
They're loyal to Ricky. They need Ricky to lead their plan because their plan is to turn everyone in school into a creep by making them eat an identity seed, which is it looks like a chocolate chip.
Yep.
And they want a plan. How are we going to get everyone to eat these? And Ricky does just about the worst job of diffusing the situation or stalling.
Yeah.
Like they are all highly suspicious that Ricky might not be the leader, though they really want him to because they really want to do this. So they're forgiving.
They're so eager for leadership. It's
And again, I want to throw out one of my reasons this book stinks. He just happened to pick the word that is the race of these creatures. Okay, are we maybe going? I'll give him this. Maybe they don't have a human name for what they are, and they latched onto the word creeps, and they were like, "That's what we are. That's the key word that the commander's using. It's creeps. It's going to be creeps." Like, maybe. But it just so happens you never get there's no like mythology about creeps. There's no like lead up that's like, oh, there's nothing. Oh, and then all of a sudden he says this prank, and all of a sudden they're like, yeah, that's us, and you're the commander. Wow, I can't believe you said that. Wow. No.
Oh man, this is perfect because I know you and I are going to talk about the movie Us after this because Tom hasn't seen it. I think this is counterpoint. I think this is perfect because it is, to me, whoever wrote this one, it is a kid's version of Monkey Paw. Like it is I have put a random thing out into the world. I've committed some sort of quote unquote sin by, doing something mean. And now the dark underbelly of the world, ghosts or aliens or whatever these things are punishing me by that becoming real. Like, be careful what you wish for kind of thing.
Sure.
I've evoked creeps and now they're actually calling. I love that. And I also, I thought there was more details in it. I thought it was interesting that in the book, they don't get into, I don't believe they even mention, are they aliens? Are they subterranean
they don't get into
lizard people? It's left up to mystery.
In the TV show, did they go into that stuff? I think you guys have both watched.
I could have sworn I watched this episode with Chad. Chad, have you seen this episode?
I don't. Maybe we scrolled and watched the end or something, like when we were hanging out one night. That sounds kind of familiar.
It's a real wacky episode, but I think they are from space in the episode. But in the book, I don't think it's determined.
No, it's not in the book.
But one of my favorite parts of this book is when Ricky's like, I think we should wait until tomorrow to talk about this. I'll see you. And he goes to walk away, and Wart sticks his tongue out, and it wraps around Ricky's neck.
Yeah.
And it turns Ricky back around so that they can continue talking.
That part was cool. That was a cool visual.
It was a good time.
They high five their tongues.
They do kiss. They do French kiss to celebrate.
To celebrate. They're really excited, and I think it's pretty obvious, but I do also really like, it's like a kind of a bit of a wish fulfillment, even though Ricky never asked for it, of these people he kept calling them my enemy, which I thought was a bit cold and calculating and very blunt. He always called the bullies his enemy.
He did, yes.
But now they are fully subservient to him. At the same time, you get the impression that if he fucks up, and I agree, he is really fucking up. He is not saying anything kind of vague or going along with it. He's constantly going he's like, what? You guys are all crazy.
He's as bad at subterfuge as he is reacting to bullying. He's equally as bad at both.
He is a little chihuahua just barking all day.
Yes.
But it's fun to play with a kid who's bullied suddenly having a power over the kids who bullied him, even if they are aliens or whatever.
So they agree. I believe Jared or Wart, one of them, goes, "Hey, I've got an idea, Mr. Commander. We're gonna put these seeds in the food of the cafeteria, and then the kids will eat the food, and then they'll eat the seeds, and then they'll become creeps." Yes. And all the creeps are like, "That's a great plan." And Ricky's like, I don't know if we should do this. And the creeps convince him to meet the next morning before school to execute this plan. And so Ricky has some trouble living with this, but he gets to school early. The creeps are like, we're going to do this. And Ricky keeps trying to stall, if I remember correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Terribly.
He continues to stall so badly that they're like, this guy isn't a creep. This guy's not a creep.
You skipped over one of his bad efforts, which is that two of his bad efforts. He tries to tell his parents about it first. And
I also love this that he did this.
He explains it to his parents, and his parents laugh, and like a Goosebumps parents would. They laugh at it, write him off, disregard him, send him to his room. He goes to school the next day.
They do a bit, though. They do a bit. They're like, hey, also, cliffhanger, Ricky, we are also creeps. Which would be scary because you don't know who's a pod person or not. And then the next episode is, the next chapter is, not only are we creeps, we're from Mars. And they're like, they're
playing
old
with them.
Yes.
Yeah. See, I just skipped over this part because I just want to talk about this ending.
Oh, I know. Well, no, I know. But I just need to point out Ricky's stupidity because he does that. Then he goes into school early and tries to do this he tries to explain to the principal the exact same way. He just starts blurting out about aliens, or not even aliens, just creeps and creatures with lizard heads and eating squirrels and stuff like that. Doesn't work again. And then, yes, he goes with them to do their master plan, which is to show up and put it into the lunch, into the school lunch, the cafeteria lunch food.
Yeah, which I just want to add, Paul. I guess you thought it was stupid. I loved that he went and tried to tell a grown up multiple times, as opposed to, I feel like we've read so many Goosebumps books where this would all go away if the kids would just talk to someone. Like,
sure.
And I know it's really frustrating, and I get it why it happens. It's really frustrating in tropes when like the adults don't listen. At least in this episode, Ricky doesn't have evidence, and unless he was going to start really trying to get a photo of them or something,
right? Yeah,
which I don't like. I do like they try to at least go into the common sense of tell a grown up, tell your parents, and then. Now they're not listening.
I think what I dislike about it is he does both of these things, and Chad, Dom, you were getting to the point where he is stalling before putting the seeds into the cafeteria food.
Well, even before that, but go on with your point.
Tell that part, and then I want to give my qualm with this whole sequence of events.
Sure, yeah. So they're like, wait, he's not a creep. This guy ain't no creep. And then Ira shows up and she says, I'm the second in command, and he is. He just can't transform right now because of this reason. And they're like, oh, okay, all right.
We choose not to, which is not really an excuse, but I liked it as a bold way to just like bluff.
Yes, but Iris had seen the whole sequence of him being taken out into the woods, and she heard everything, and she's like, I'm on your side. Like, we have to stop this. And so, but Ricky's alone again with he's got the identity seeds. They're like, all right, go put it in the food. Go put it in
the Iris thing. The Iris thing happens after this, actually.
Really?
Yes. This happens, and then they end up back in the woods so the whole plan is to put it into the food for the kids to eat. In the beginning of the book, he talks about Ricky's smart. He knows that none of the kids eat the fucking lunch. He talks about it with Iris,
no one eats the macaroni.
No one eats the macaroni. They stick it in the macaroni. They put it in the macaroni, and then nothing happens because none of the kids eat it. And he does all these steps to try and stall it, but he knows none of the kids are going to eat the macaroni already.
Okay, all right. So let me just add on to it. I'm not defending Ricky, but I think this is interesting. I love our Goosebumps episodes where we disagree on if the book is amazing or terrible. It's
the
great.
best ones. Yes.
It means these are art. It means this is art.
It means
right?
that Chad and I have become numb, and we'll take anything at this point.
Yeah.
No, I think there's some. Well, we can talk about this more, but also another time where, as he is taking these identity seeds, which I think is an important detail, expire.
Yeah.
These things that are also described as sour tasting or smelling.
Yeah. Of course.
He's like, while he's alone going into the kitchen to put them in the macaroni, he runs into the nice lunch lady and completely insults her by telling her, like, the macaroni's poisoned.
Yeah.
Like, but not just that, he tries to get rid of the seeds and pretends to trip and fall
and spill them on the ground.
Spill them on the ground, which, like, I guess, but like,
it's Chad. They can pick them up. It's terrible in two ways. One, they could pick them up and put them into the food. Two, he tries that walks back over to the creeps, and the creeps go, here's some more, do it again. So that whole section was a goddamn waste of time.
Well, it just establishes they have backup seeds.
Always carry a spare.
But
not only that, but they have more seeds later. Anyway, go on.
I know, it's stupid.
No, they're prepared aliens. They're prepared monsters.
They're really prepared, but they need leadership so badly.
Yeah.
They're the perfect servants. But so this doesn't work out. Nobody eats the macaroni. They question him. Iris comes out and defends him. Says he's not going to change. We don't do that. We have to continue our disguise. And so they hatch another plan, and they say there's a bake sale. We're going to make cookies, and they're going to be free, and they're all going to have the seeds in them.
Yeah.
And again, like Ricky, I think to your point, Paul, about him being dumb, the dumbest thing he does is he realizes no one's eating the macaroni and then says it out loud.
And then says it out loud. Again, he knew this was going to not work. He didn't need to do all these layers of stalling because he should have just known that nobody was going to eat the gross macaroni.
Hey, there's lizard dudes coming at you and they want to flick their tongues all over your bones.
One of them sucks on his neck to turn him around. I get it. That's scary.
He's probably getting vaguely aroused and doesn't know what that means. Like, he's processing a lot of stuff.
Well, the problem with this is that, maybe they chose the macaroni and maybe he was okay with it because in the back of his mind, he was like, no one's going to eat the macaroni.
Yeah.
And so it's like, all right, that's an out. But then he's the one that reveals that to the lizards.
That's the problem, is he's a fucking idiot.
Yeah. Nobody eats the macaroni. That's what must have happened. We got to get a better plan around here. And then he's like, shit.
So
I'm going to have to carry out this plan.
There is a great moment in that scene. Besides all the other bullshit that happens, there's a great moment after he puts the second bag of seeds into the macaroni. That's when the nice lunch lady comes over and starts to scold him. And she's telling him how good their macaroni and cheese and everyone. And I love this scene because it's actually very real and made me laugh. All of them are like, yeah, we fucking work hard back here. We make you guys good food and you fucking shithole kids don't eat it. And they're like,
it's good.
It's good. It's home cooked. They're like making a good fucking argument for their delicious food they make.
I don't have any kids of my own. I kind of thought you were my surrogate son. This hurts me very much.
We pour love into this food, and you assholes won't eat it. So like, I love that that scene. And then great moment. They spoon out a little bit for him, and they're about to feed it to him. Okay, cool moment. And I will come back to this when we get to the end of the story. I think that's a great moment. It's ruined because he just turns around and runs away. Okay, but let's finish up the story, and then I want to talk about the fix for this book that would have made this entire ending work for me. That involves that scene. Go on.
Shall we just cut to the chase here? I mean, we're at it. We're at the bake sale.
There's only like 20 pages left. By the way, I think it's important to push out that this book does have really weird pacing where it's all like build up and calls and creeps and bullying, and then like the actual planting identity seeds happens in the last like 30 pages of the book.
It's
like,
super fast.
A lot of stuff happens very quickly.
So they get the identity seeds in the cookies. It's the bake sale. Everybody's coming in. They're like, everything costs money except the cookies. They're free. Everyone's going to take one. So Ricky's got to spring into action. He gets up and he's yelling at everyone. He's saying, "Don't eat the cookies. You're gonna don't do it. Don't eat the cookies."
They'll turn you into a lizard person, and you'll suck a squirrel down in one bite.
Yeah,
this is just a young Alex Jones.
Yeah, it's absolutely
this is just a young Alex.
There is a great episode about Alex Jones on This American Life recently. I recommend it. And it's about a moment quite like this, because that's his origin story. Have you heard of his origin story?
No, but this book is his origin story. Holy fuck,
Did
Chad.
he fall into a vat of macaroni? Okay.
It is quite similar to, it's not factual, but it is his origin story that he tells. But anyway.
Interesting.
Yes. Ricky stands up and says, "Everyone, don't eat the cookies. They're bad. Don't do it." And they're like, "You, Ricky, we've had enough of your shit." They start throwing cheesecake at him. And so
everyone in school, I think it's implied, they don't say who's throwing it. I assume at this point the teachers are throwing stuff.
Nobody likes them.
One teacher, I don't know if you guys had this in your book, but one teacher threw a rock at Ricky. Said it missed, but they threw a rock at him.
It was just a bunch of batteries and a snowball. Like, it was just, they were just throwing a bunch of stuff.
This one takes place in Philadelphia.
Yes. And so the kid, as we talked about earlier with Always Sunny, so the creeps come up to him and they say, once they eat these cookies, they'll all be your slaves. And he's like, "Don't eat the cookies, don't eat the cookies." And he's like, "Wait, oh, wait, what'd you say? He said, they're going to be your slaves. Everyone's going to eat a cookie, turn into a creep, and they're going to be your slaves. And then Ricky goes, hey, everybody, cookies! And he starts handing them out. And then he's like, fuck yeah, I'm going to eat one too. I'm going to become a creep so I can rule these slaves.
Things are going to change around here. I love it.
That's the end of the book. That is the end of the book.
I think that's such an abrupt turn. I think it's so abrupt that, like, I'm like, come on, guys. Like, he's fighting this the whole time, and then he turns. And I get that he was like, he hates his school and stuff like that, but like, I think the fact that he hates the school for so long and wants to play a prank on them, and then makes the turn when he finds out that he could fuck with them all by trying to defend them for so long, and then quickly again switches back at the end. I think you could have done it similarly, but in that moment where he had the macaroni and cheese, he should have been so scared, and the lunch lady should have shoved it in his mouth, and he should have eaten it. And Ricky knows in that moment, I am a creep now. I am going to become a creep. I have to save my school. I have to save the rest of the people, even though I've lost my humanity itself.
I don't want to cut you off. You're saying that, like, he is turned into a creep against his
will. And he's like, fuck, I'm a creep now, but the least I can do is save Iris and the rest of the kids from their fate of becoming creeps. And then at the end, he finds out that he could enslave them, and he's already a creep. Or like maybe you find that out like a little bit earlier, and then he like build it into it, like where he, like, you don't know what he's gonna do, like hide his motivations a little bit. And then at the end, he reveals, "Fuck y'all my creeps now," and he like spreads it out, and it becomes like a cool revenge moment at the end. You know,
creep, like that.
Yes,
like
creep,
that's
creep,
what
creep,
happened.
creep.
I think that's valid. I don't know if we actually did. We say that. Yeah, that's the most important detail in the middle part of that. Like it's like 10 pages of it. That when they're not listening to him, Ricky mounts up. When I think an interesting hero call of like, despite these people being garbage to me, I will eat all the cookies. Which is also
that's right. Yeah. Which is another stupid ass plan.
Uh-huh.
If you
what?
can,
no, I thought it was like, yeah, eat all the cookies, dude. Take it for the team.
If you can pick up all the cookies, if you can get all the cookies at once, it's much faster to throw them in the garbage where no one will want to eat them.
Where nobody will eat them, right.
Rather than eat them one by one.
Well, again, my fix.
All right, how about this? Lick all the cookies.
All, whatever.
Lick all the cookies. Yeah.
You could do Troll 2 and pee on all the cookies. I mean, this is, you know, now that I mentioned it, this one is kind of similar to Troll 2.
It is.
In a few ways.
Yeah.
Okay, so my ending where he is transformed into a creep against his own will, he gets transformed into a creep against his own will. He still goes through with trying to stop the plan to turn the rest of the school to creeps, and maybe he gets up to give that impassioned speech about not eating the cookies, knowing that he is a creep and that he's only doing this to save everyone else. And then someone still throws the food at him. And then in that moment, that's when Ricky goes, "Fuck all y'all." And then he hands out the cookies for free. And then it's like, and then it's a moment where he just watches as everybody slowly like just fucking tucks into these cookies and eats them up, and he just gleefully watches as everybody trades their humanity away for a free cookie.
I think we're circling around the same thing, Paul. It's really just how much of it is his choice or not. I particularly reread it again, and also I'm sure I thought it was just really edgy at times as a kid, but like. There's something I really like about this kid who has been shit on by society over and over again, still tries to be the hero.
Yeah.
And then, in almost like a Parks and Rec thing where just the entire town sucks, like, instead of going on, like, I believe in all of them, he's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to be Emperor Creep. Like, there's something about...
I like that. I like the ending. I just think...
That turn... and choosing to be it.
Agreed. And I think that the ending of this, again, I just think you need to make your main character sympathizable. And I don't think he's there's nothing sympathetic about him. I truly think that when the creeps first revealed themselves to him, he knew in his head that nobody would eat the macaroni and cheese. If he was smart for one fucking time in his life, and he was like, no one eats the macaroni and cheese, and he thought that inside his head and tricked the creeps into being like, I'm going to put it in the mac and cheese. You as the reader are like, he's got him. This is great. And you see it happen. He puts it in the mac and cheese and he's like, great. Nobody's going to eat it. We're safe. And then that fucking scene happens and she force feeds it to him. What a great turn there. That's a great turn because you're like, fuck, he thought he had it figured out. how's he going to get out of this? Now he's a creep, you know?
Okay, all right, I'll pivot off that. I think it's like part of that, right? Where you give him definitely the smart idea to use the macaroni because he thought about it ahead of time, and it was definitely foreshadowing to the point that he's dumb for not thinking about it. And then you go, he tells them to do it. The creeps go to do it because they're already like, yes, Master Commander, like we listen to you. And he's like, for a second, he's like, it's kind of crazy that these bullies are listening to me for a second. Like he gets a taste of power.
Yeah, okay, all right.
And then like he finds out the next day, they're like, we were going to put him in the macaroni, but we had the better idea to put him in the cookies. Cookies are way better than macaroni. And he's like, fuck, they went around me. And that kind of thing.
Oh, that could be good.
So now it's now how do I fix this problem?
Maybe they give him cookies the next day and he eats one and that's how he gets hit with it. That could.
I want him to eat I want him to choose it. That's just a personal taste. I want him so badly to be like, yeah, it's so Twilight Zone to me of like, it's like I am legend of like, I will just, I surrender. I have lost this battle for humanity.
Right.
Depending on how big the creep's going, I surrender because I see it. It's the kid version of it's better to serve in hell than to or whatever. I'd rather rule in hell than serve in heaven.
I'd rather laugh with the sinners than sing with the saints. Right?
That's a way better phrase. I like that one way more.
That's Billy Joel, baby.
Well, here. So okay, all right. Paul quoting Billy Joel over here. I what I'm hearing is that Paul is continues to try and fix this character and this story so that it cannot be the way it is. But the way it is the Billy Joel lyric. It's what should happen to this kid, right? I mean, I feel like you're trying to make this better by making him likable and that he actually does try to save them. But like the heel turn is so vile at the end of this book. It's so horrible that even the one sweet girl who's new to school who freaking risked her life to bail this kid out and to save him. He fucking heel turns on her in a second.
Well, I think I got the impression that it goes so fast. I agree with you, Tom. I got the impression that Iris, is that her name?
I'm pretty sure her name is Iris, unless I made that up completely.
No, it's Iris.
No, it's Iris. It's
Iris. I got the impression that Iris was like kind of on board. Like I kind of got a strange, and this might be just me reading into it, that Iris and Ricky are like, yeah, we'll just be fucking commander and commander lieutenant or whatever, general.
Right.
Like,
Sergeant or whatever.
Let's run this shit.
Yeah,
let's go. Like,
you know who else had that idea? The Nazis, okay?
No!
That's what this comes back to. It's the ultimate disgusting heel turn on the equivalents. Any moment that you would go ahead and seize power to rule over other people for them to do your bidding, you are disgusting. You are vile. And that's what Ricky is. He's the ultimate hateable character.
I think it makes it. He is hateable by her going evil. I think this is the one time that I can think of in at least the main Goosebump books, and maybe there's another one I'm forgetting, where a character makes a choice at the end that like dooms the world, or at least this school, as opposed to is just kind of like enacted by, the monster was hatched onto the back of the bus, or like, we did our best and we still got fucked over. I really like, even if it's dark and fucked up, that a kid is like, picks the darkest turn for the story. Like he goes, you know what? We lose. And it's a bad ending in a horror book that I really, even if Ricky sucks, and maybe they shouldn't have used the words, they'll be your slaves. Because that's not even that's not even true. Like the creeps already are not his slaves. They just respect hierarchy. But
they're creeps. They're vile creeps who are looking for a leader to tell them to do bad stuff because they love to do bad stuff. I think once you become a creep, you become kind of, I would imagine, you revel in others' pain a lot more. Which is what these creeps are satisfying when they torture Ricky the Rat.
Yeah, it's been like, I think there's something to, oh, well, you know what? It's not even that I have like mind control powers over everyone. It's just, no, I'm becoming an alien. And because they think I'm the commander, I'm going to just rule this town now. But it is kind of, if I may, I think it's, reading it again, I was surprised this didn't come up of like, as great as that ending is, one last like card turned over of the real commander shows up. Like, like that's another way to end it. But the fact that there's these creeps who are on a mission, they've only been there for a limited amount of time because they have seeds that expire after a week. They've been waiting in quiet, like this is the first thing I ever heard as a kid, is like that's essentially a terrorist cell. Like they're lying in wait, waiting for the sign, and they're waiting for their commander, who they don't know who it's going to be. Someone had to just call it. I kept kind of, even though I knew how it ended, waiting for like either Iris to reveal that she was the commander because she's been new to school, and they talk about that, how there's a bit of a plot hole when you really think about it, in terms of the stuff where Ricky almost gets himself killed by pointing out the macaroni thing. And and they're like, what do you mean? And he goes, well, everyone at school knows that the macaroni isn't edible. It's been untouched for years. And they go, wait a minute, how do you know that? You've only been here a few days longer than we have. Which means, if you really think about it, means the kids who are the creeps
haven't been there.
Haven't been there for what, like a week or two? And they're not new kids. As far as Ricky knows, they are bullies that he's always had. It's not like they are new kids in school. So there's a bit of a logic thing there.
Yeah, I don't remember them saying that they were new kids ever.
I don't think they are. I think they're just kids he's had problems with.
Yeah, I remember Iris being a new kid, but then he mentions them being new kids at some point when they're creeps. And I'm like, wait, you weren't new kids. You guys were. So I assumed that they were like pod people, but like that like replaced them. That's what I thought.
That might work. That might hold up if it's like once you become a creep, you like reset or something, you know? Like
yeah, like the pod version of you took over and you don't have the memories of the original version.
Sure. Then it has in like what is even, again, this is like it's funny because we were just talking before the podcast of what Jordan Peele is doing with like Us and Get Out and everything, is like he only reveals certain details that you need to know for the plot. And if you really thought about it longer, it maybe won't hold up to scrutiny. But for weird, crazy Twilight Zone type stuff, you just need to know part of it.
You just need the part that elicits like the strangeness, and then you're good. I don't know, guys. I don't know about this one. I don't agree. I will say that I do like the twist ending. I did like, because the whole time I knew that someone was going to be a creep, or the book was going to end and he was going to find out his parents were creeps or something like that. So I did like, it was a little refreshing that the ending was pure Twilight Zone, right?
Yeah.
Like, it just pure Twilight Zone twist of like bad stuff's happening. So
I think I enjoy among that the creeps are maybe the most successful of the antagonists in a Goosebumps book. Like it's a bad end that doesn't feel as cheap to me because a character makes a call. But I also really kind of like that the creeps are dumb. Like they're not lovable. They're evil, but like we don't know what else other than they eat a squirrel, which, you know, squirrels are great. But like they're kind of like puppy dogs. There's a weird they feel like something from like Oddworld or something. Like they'd be a character in that where they're
what
evil.
Ricky should be. I should feel sympathy for them, but I don't feel any for Ricky because he's a vile fuck.
I don't know. How do you feel about it, Dom?
I enjoy the shocking ending. I think this is probably I guess in the Egg Monsters one, there was the moment of laying an egg. But that's not as that's just kind of like a oops, hey, also this. There hasn't been a Goosebumps ending as shocking as this one, so I found it to be enjoyable. You know, I still feel pretty good about this book. Ricky does stink, and he stinks the worst at the end, so that's kind of fun to see.
But now he's head stink. He's head stink man.
Yeah, he's the big stinker,
the chief stinker.
I think it's important to call out, according to the Goosebumps wiki, we talk about how this is an early, what's the crazy gorilla blood man? Doug Jones. Alex Jones. Doug Jones is a very different man. Doug Jones is great. According to trivia of it, according to R.L.'s autobiography, he got the idea for the story from a joke he once played when he was in college, but ended up backfiring on him afterwards. I.e., R.L. Stein is a pod person.
Also, yes, I agree. Also, R.L. is always saying some shit like, oh, I came up with this title because it was in my life. And like, it is like so tangentially in his life. Like, I just don't believe. Like, it's like that retconning that like famous people do to make their life seem more not epic, but like more rich and like, oh my
Cinematic.
gosh, he just draws from his life because his life was so interesting. It's like, hey man, when you gonna name one of these books after them pornos you used to write, huh? That's what I'm interested in. There's this story. This is a tangent, but I will never forget this. Well, I guess I have kind of forgotten, but there was this headline on what's the tabloid in Philly? The Daily News. Sorry,
the Daily Nude or the Daily
News? News. Though they may have run a nude photo at some point. Some of those magazines,
absolutely.
some of those tabloids do. What happened was in Pennsylvania, some congressional people were found to be sharing porno links, like just sharing videos with each other through like government email. They're like, hey, check this one out. That's what old people do when they get on the internet. They're like, there's porno on here and I found some good ones, my friend. Here you go. And the headline of the Daily News said like, "Hey Joe," it had a photo of the government official. It's like this old man. It's like, "Hey Joe, send me some of them porno links." So it's something like that, and I just, I'm sorry, it's very tangential, but I really enjoy. No,
it's relevant.
It's relevant enough, That's what I want. Hey RL, send me some of them porno influences, okay? Show us which one of these book titles you were inspired from writing your smut.
Something in this book that pissed me off beyond belief.
Beyond belief, fact or fiction? Is that what you're just...
No. Just the thing in this book.
My favorite show? One of my favorite shows? Anyway, go on. I'm sorry.
I don't know if I know this.
We'll talk about it.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I got irrationally mad at Ricky's dad when he yelled at him and said, "You're not allowed to have calls after 10." And I was like, Ricky's dad, he fucking can't control when people call him. They will just call him when they want to call him. That's literally something you can't control. You could tell your friends not to call you after 10, but if your friend's gonna fucking do it, they're gonna fucking do it. Ricky's dad, get off his back.
Well, I mean, if I was a dad, I'd probably say the same thing. Be like, hey man, why are your friends calling? Your friends aren't allowed to call after this period.
Yeah, but he can't control that, especially when it's a prank. He told him it was a prank that was happening to him.
That's true.
It pissed me off. I also I thought about something before I even read this. Guys, have you thought about phone horror in a while?
I just watched a movie called Ooooh. I forget the original title, but the second title that it came out under was called Bells. And
was it about a horror thing happening through a phone?
Yeah, like you get a phone call and then it's just like this high pitched noise, and then you start shaking and sparking, and then like you get thrown and like your head's all bloody because you just got killed. It was a lot of fun.
That's cool. And like I'm sure there are still things that happen with cell phones that have horror, but I think the use of a phone as a horror device has severely dropped off since cell phones come out.
Yeah. I don't know. There's plenty of movies.
There is cell phone horror. I'm not saying that there isn't any more use of it, but I feel like the phone was usually a more central device, and we've moved away from it much.
I think the bigger damning thing, honestly, I mean, cell phone opens up a ton of problems for most horror stories. Now that you can call for help wherever you are, unless you set up cell phone towers. But I think the actual more damning thing that killed phones and horrors was I don't have the evidence to back this up, but this is a feeling. Caller ID.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, once you knew there was a name or a number attached. I mean, even though you can do like unknown caller or whatever, it took away the mystery from this like mysterious box that could ring and a voice would just be on the other end. That's like the creepiest part of it.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Is I feel like there's less of that. The call is coming from inside the house. This where like the creeps are calling late at night, being like, "I'm a creep," and like saying like weird shit. Like you just don't. I don't feel like that happens as much. And admittedly, I don't read or watch too much horror, modern stuff, so I don't know too much about it. I know that there are horror books and movies that have come out centered around cell phones. I know there's at least one Korean horror movie that was based around a cell phone.
But I think Chad's right. It's caller ID that stopped it, because even if it's even if it's like, I think you can block calls in a certain way. But most people will just not answer those now. But like, but like, even if it's just unknown, you still have the phone number there. So, yeah, I think Caller ID definitely made that drop off. If you want to watch the original, great execution of that, because you need to watch Black Christmas, the original production. Let's see. So it's an urban legend. That was like a scary story you tell at sleepovers as the babysitter. The calls are coming from inside the house. And, Black Christmas takes a couple urban legends like that and puts it in a movie, and it does it in a great way. If you haven't seen Black Christmas, you really got to see it. The 70s version.
What year are we talking, just to set this up? Like what? I think it's 90s.
No, it's 70s. 74. Okay.
74. Okay.
Yeah. It's excellent. You should watch it if you like horror. It is excellent. But Halloween. John Carpenter was inspired by Black Christmas, and Halloween is essentially the same thing. The night he came home. Which is, a mental patient escapes from the institution and kills people. And also someone coming home and killed from, so Halloween is the very same way. But that idea of getting a phone call, was such a spooky thing that would happen to people. You would just get strange phone calls when you didn't have caller ID. And that was such a thing. It was an urban legend, it was
and you had to answer the phone a little bit more. You were a little more, not that I feel like we feel compelled to answer our phones and to respond to things with cell phones, but I feel like before a telephone call was not harder to make, but it was a little bit more important. And it's a little more throwaway now. Whereas before,
well, we've learned to protect ourselves from those interactions because we have the urban legend, we have the horror movies, we have all of that, and now we say when we see an unknown number, we say, I don't know who the fuck that is. I'm not going to talk to them.
Right, exactly. And that's what I was thinking about it before I even read this book, and I was like, oh, is this one gonna be based around some sort of horror occurring with a phone? Because I thought that would be cool. I just was like, oh, that's neat. I don't think we've experienced a Goosebumps book yet that uses a phone as like this is the closest we got to a phone being something that's causing terror for the
It feels also very much of an era, It feels very makes it feels very
mid-90s. Mid-90s and 80s. I feel like are very.
When you watch old episodes of Unsolved Mysteries, which you gotta, guys, the phone is so much scarier. Getting a phone call back then was so fucking scary because like it rings in the night, you're like, oh my gosh, I hope my father's okay. Let me answer the phone.
Yeah, right.
And then, you would answer. You would feel inclined to answer, like you were talking about, Paul. But so frequently, like oh gosh, this is gonna get grim. Well, I won't go into detail, but the Golden State Killer, famously did that to the families of his victims. Up until very recently, he would still make phone calls to them and say, hey, it's me, the guy who did it.
Yeah, it's fucked up. Phones are scary. Phones are scary.
Phones are scary. Yeah. So I can understand your disappointment in that, Paul. I understand.
Yes. So I think that might have led me to disliking this book a little bit more because I was expecting a little more stuff being based around the horror. Literally, the Calling All Creeps thing is a 2 or 3 paragraph section of this book, and then it's done.
I still will hold on to. I think this is a more interesting story that it goes towards. But
I give this one the opposite of 10 Goosebumps out of 10. I give this 10 abscess wounds out of 10. The skin is sucking inside of my body. Yeah.
Can I show out there something? Hey, Paul, real quick, just get off the Discord real quick. You off the Discord?
What?
Cool? What? Dom and I need to talk about something for a second.
Hey, what's up, Chad? Yeah, Paul's gone.
Hey, I just muted Paul. I think Paul's maybe like a real life creep. I think Paul's like a real pod person, and maybe
I was thinking that maybe
you guys talking in here.
Whoa! Hey, yo!
Hey, okay. How'd you get into this chat, Paul? We shadow banned you.
Hey, Paul. We're just talking about how we all are totally creeps, right?
Yeah, I love to use my tongue to eat ramen noodle.
Sometimes I just scratch my back with my tongue, and boy, oh boy, it's orgasmic. Am I right?
Yeah. Why do I have to agree to that, Chad? Come on, man.
Did you eat the cookies I sent you or something?
Yeah. No, thank you for the... Wait, Tom, actually, I did eat those cookies. Wait. This episode of Goosebuds is brought to you by our wonderful Patreon supporters. They include Cale Clinton,
Cafe Meowkiato,
Stefan Jive Turkey Kuwabara,
Hollis Hornbeak,
Fred Atkins,
Nathan Dolzall,
David Cron,
Chris Birch,
Adepio,
Mickey C,
Michael McDowell,
Clayton C,
Kyla Tharp,
Buddy Morrill,
Mike Lanteri,
Nick Hinkle,
Joshua P. Robertson,
Cameron Murphy Audio, I believe that is.
Yeah,
It's
you
cut
nailed,
off for me.
nailed it. Daniel Callejas,
Jim Greaves,
John Luke,
Jared Mason,
Martin A. Macias,
Zan Keith,
Not To Pearl Henderson,
Joshua Lopez,
The Rupel Productions,
Jubs,
Christopher Boyce,
Afshin Modelet.
Mickle Hartscorn _.
Stanky McStanky,
I can't read this full one.
I'll read it.
Beanfather's-
It's Beanfather Spookman. I'll let you say it though.
Beanfather Spookman.
Jonas Blotterman.
Jennifer Britton,
Steven.
Ghost Kisser Daniels.
Got it. Nice.
Is that it?
Yep. Nailed it.
Wow, I knew it.
good job.
Victor.
Brandon Rowdenbush,
Aaron T. Strunk.
No cute name, just the Mantis, baby.
I love that Mantis,
That might be my fave.
Brian Wells,
John Jimco.
The Dragon Llama.
Centicles,
Keith Robinson.
Drew Applegate.
Turtlemancer.
Sleepy Boy 69.
He remembered again. Good job, Tom.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you. I'm working from an abbreviated list here.
Joe, remember to save early and often. Scott.
Paul Grosso,
Walter Frazier.
John Keaty.
Kramer.
Aaron watching you sleep, Dom Cole.
He's on fire today. Holy shit.
Taylor Dirks.
Becca McWilliams,
Stealth Bates.
Joseph Miranda.
Scott Colopy,
Robert Moon.
Alistair Perez.
Patrick Reynolds,
Just the letter S.
Third, Sergio.
Jason Crooker,
Vincent Modica.
Trent Davis.
Luke Canoodles,
Miguel Pardo.
Tammy.
Zam Bam Bino,
David Lee Pretty.
I'll read it to you. David Lee Pretty, aka DL Fine.
David Lee Pretty, aka DL Fine.
Needed help on that one, but it's okay, Dom. You're doing great still.
Just a pretty good dog overall.
Christina Doling,
Clay Castle.
Connor Church.
this is my favorite. Calf,
Cody Redfield.
Matt, Bachelor.
Randy Hernandez,
Gregory D. Warren.
Oh, maybe we have the
Is
wrong
next
one. I have
is that right?
Trendy Moron is the next one.
I see, I have it here. Trendy Moron.
Maddie.
Poyo Boyo,
Ishak Arifin.
Matthew Rieger.
Ryan Melfi,
Heidi Shanks.
Gabe Chavez.
Reinfected,
What is this one?
The Puerto Rican Dream.
The Puerto Rican Dream.
I'm too lazy to come up with a clever name, so fuck it.
love it. Love that attitude, baby. Jake Young,
Alan Saylor.
Axel Rock.
Kyle Billings. This one's gross. This one's
Sam Jizhash.
gross. Gross.
James Roy.
Mikey Jello,
Shifty Swamps.
Chosen One.
Gregory D. Warren,
Divaldi.
Jin K.
Bradford Coulter,
Jonas Ingram. Ingman.
Ingrams are Scientology, just to clarify. Rich Hilborn.
Aiden Dice,
Dylan Vaughn.
Toothless Barry the Whistler Bostowitz.
Nathan Remick,
Dan Henshaw.
Joshua Jacobwitz.
Andrew Sheriff,
Justin Wagman.
Ryan Shell.
Matthew Literal,
Chris Bricky.
Oh, it might be Cry Bricky?
Cry Bricky.
Leviathan.
Cardboard Walk.
The John D. and Catherine MacArthur Foundation.
He knows it. He knew
I
it.
know it.
Tommy, Archbishop of the Grand Breakfast Tabernacle, Hoey. I want to sign up for that church.
It's my breakfast boy. Goblin Library.
Reed Stubendike.
He knew it.
Rug.
Andrew Villanueva.
Up and Champ.
Joey Evans.
Alicia Grafe.
Nick V.
Big Bow on the beat.
Solezo.
Ooh, I could go for a Solezo, one of those refreshing drinks.
Oh, yeah, baby.
That's what it sounds like. James Hudson.
Anthony Kuwabara.
Molicious.
Carl Kleinasser.
Senpai Gods.
Carewise Gamgee.
Brock Graham.
Yanni Markovina.
Hugh Bolin.
Jake H.
Joe,
Frank V,
Elusive Koala,
Jessica Zeibel,
Cameron Hansen,
Blake Alvarez,
Swaggy Yola Squire, an evil witch turned into a squirrel. Send help.
Period.
Turned your what? Turned your what into a squirrel? I need to know more.
Get slinked, ya bee. I'm not gonna say it this time.
Yep, no, we're not gonna say it. Paul's Christmas stocking, I believe that's that one.
Paul's Christmas sock.
Paul's Christmas sock.
Close. That is a Christmas sock.
It's
Doc.
different.
It
It implies difference. It implies a little bit more.
There's something askew.
Christian Van Skyver.
Chase Neiman.
Generally depressing.
Etono Moore.
Boney.
Brooke X.
Boss Skeleton.
Corey Shelley.
Joe.
Johnny Space Coyote Cash.
Jesus Christ.
Low Bella Hate Me.
Jeremy Lowe.
Zach Connor.
Rocky Raccoon.
Yeah.
Pallet Town Champ.
Adam Norton.
Anxious Serve.
Avery Whitney.
Carter Glass.
Christopher Dunn.
Valhalla Black.
Mr. Funny Screen.
With that little face is cute. The little face he's got as icon, or they have as their icon, is very cute.
Yeah.
Boss Jarrettson.
Jackie Ledoux.
Dan.
Chris Pittman.
Jordan Lockwood.
That's Lockwood.
Hell yeah.
Dylan Eads.
MB Drinking Blue Icy.
Oh, those are good.
Ooh, I love a blue icy.
Noah August. And we're about to move into our new people here.
Yeah, these are brand new. Maybe we could have said these earlier. Who knows? What's this? What's
So
this?
I'll read it to you, Dom. Soup Experimental.
Soup Experimental.
Patreon_donator.yo.
Yes.
Joe Tierney.
And Ryan Stewart, the babyest new baby of them all.
The newest baby, and we look forward to saying your name so much that Dom can remember them without seeing the full name.
Yeah, maybe you'll get there.
Thank you all so very much, guys and gals. We love you all.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Guys.
Thank ya.
Bye-bye.